see how long and leave it red.
Not very long. Are we good? Yeah. Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Cicero Planning Board meeting. Would you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Aceto.
Pledge allegiance. One nation.
Thank you. Before we get going, a couple things. I want to remind myself and the team to please utilize your microphones. The online streaming has been a little bit difficult to hear, so if you can get up there and talk nice and remind me if I miss it, I would appreciate that. See? And then secondly, the fourth item on our agenda, SSC Cicero LLC has been removed at the request of the applicant. What? Oh. They requested to be removed from the agenda today because they do no longer need an extension. With that, we need to approve the minutes from the August 18th meeting. Everybody's had a chance to review. Any questions or comments?
Will they be approved as printed?
We have a second?
Second.
Mr. Aceto?
Yes.
Mr. Abbey?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Bloss?
Yes.
And I vote yes, motion has been approved. At this point, we'll accept public comment from anybody in the public that would like to speak to an application that's currently before the board. If you'd like to speak, please come forward. Given nobody is coming forward, we'll close the public input and move on to agenda item number 1. This is for Demir Omerval. You helped him. Property at 7261 Route 298. Proposed 1,750 square foot building.
Good evening, Tim Coyer, News and Romans Land Surveying. This is basically right at the corner of East Taft Road and Route 298. I have smaller copy. Nothing's really different from what you'll see on the screen. It's the general commercial property. He's looking to use it for automobile repair and sales. So the first page that you see is just the general topo existing conditions sheet. If you go to the second sheet, is roughly the site plan layout. He's looking to put a roughly 1,700 square foot metal frame building on the site with roughly 17 parking spaces. I'll get my handy laser out. So we've highlighted some of the display areas out front. There's some customer parking in here, and then you'll have some parking for some repair vehicles back here. There is existing water along 298. He is going to have to put a septic system in over here. We have gotten conventional or conceptual approval from County DOT for the driveway on 298 at this time. One light, it's going to be one, he's the only employee, the owner. So there's only one employee going to be on the site at all times. And it's pretty straightforward. All the hours of operation are on the front page from Monday to through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Other than that, you can see we're not, these lines here, laser pointer is not working. This is the existing foliage. It's out there, edge of trees and brush. We're trying not to disturb any of the existing trees and brush that's out there. So we're just going to put this development right in the open space. If there's any questions, concerns from the board, we'd love to hear them. Obviously, tonight's just sketch plan. Still have to get the county referral. But any comments and questions we would love to address for the board.
Mr. Aceto?
Nothing at the moment.
Mr. Abbey?
I'm all set for.
Snyder?
Good for now.
Mr. Bloss?
I'm all set.
And Marizio? Tim, a couple of things.
Yes, sir.
On the short environmental assessment form, item
Yep.
number 11, I'm sorry, 10. It's the question, will the proposed action connect to any existing public, private water supply? And it says, no.
Yours says no. Mine says yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, number 11,
Number 11. Will the proposed action connect to the wastewater?
wastewater utility. And it says no. And then it says if no, describe.
Correct. Underneath this, as a septic system is in the works for the site plan. So like I said, we have to do a there has been a design by Calstream Engineering. And I believe that's been approved by the health department as well. But yes, we have to propose, we are proposing a septic system for this.
It's just the one employee, he's going to do sales and mechanics.
Yeah.
Any dumpster on site?
No, nope. He's gonna have everything inside.
All I have. Neil, anything? Mark, anything at this point? I'm sorry.
I was by there recently. Currently, there's trucks, boats. I don't know if they're personal items stored on the property. Are those things going to remain on the property or be stored there?
I
Provide your name, please.
Merrick. This is the mayor. This is the applicant.
Yes, I do have some jet skis couple. One second.
Okay, that was my question.
Thanks. Rich, so Mark will do a review, how to get that out.
That's the applicant, Demir Almoverchik.
I'll start with that, Tim.
All set, thank you.
Okay, next item is Onondaga County, this is East Taft Road, a zone change recommendation to the town board from general commercial to general commercial plus.
Good evening, Tim Coyer, I News and Romans. Nothing's really changed. This is a tax parcel that's just north of the town of DeWitt. That's the town line owned by the county. Roughly 39 acres of land. We're here for town referral for a zone change for this property. It's an existing tax parcel that's been general commercial for years. It's vacant. It has a whole bunch of the old roadways and stuff for the military base throughout it. We're looking to get it zone changed to general commercial plus, which is the zoning for the northerly subdivision. This is the existing Hancock Air Park subdivision up here along Stuart Drive. What we're looking to do is zone change it to general commercial plus because they're gonna sell off pieces of this property to the parcels above it. And we're gonna end up coming in for a subdivision after this to combine some of those new parcels with those existing parcels. Basically, those properties along Stewart Drive above, a bunch of them have interest in purchasing some additional land, and we're gonna sell it to them. It's pretty straightforward. We just got to get this done first before we can enter into the subdivision process.
We'll go through questions. Mr. Rosito, anything?
The surrounding ones are generally general commercial plus now.
Yes, most of all the ones north of us are all general commercial up through here, yes. Well, all of them. I think the one on the far east side, I think this parcel right here is general commercial, but all the parcels along the north boundary are general commercial plus, and that'd be the only ones we're combining with.
Thank you.
Abby?
All set. Seems pretty well straightforward.
Mr. Snyder?
Good.
Mr. Bloss?
I'm all set.
Mr. Merzio? I'm all set as well. Steve?
Thank you.
Neil? Mark, anything?
Honestly, I've been asked that question a couple times. I don't know. I wasn't part of the original Hancock. This was actually even before me. I don't know why it wasn't included.
Makes sense that it should have been.
It makes sense that it should have been. You're correct. Yep. The south boundary is the town of DeWitt, town of Cicero line.
Neil, do we need a seeker for a recommendation? Would you propose a motion for approval, please?
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Rossito,
Yes.
Mr. Abbey. Yes. Mr. Snyder.
Yes.
Mr. Bloss,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Good luck. Next item on the agenda, New York State Lineman Safety Training for the property at 8545 Bruton Road. This is a proposed vehicle storage building. Welcome back.
Evening.
You want to go through?
Sure. Matt Naparell and Naparell Consulting, representing lineman safety training facility. I want to let you know, Mr. Pollock got called away. He's doing a training session in Buffalo today, part of the storm system, I believe. So he unfortunately is not with us tonight. I believe over the course of since we were last here, we've corresponded a couple times with Mr. Parrish in his office with regards to some detailing, for the most part, dealing with the stormwater mitigation systems, as well as some detailing and adding the notes that were discussed the last time we were before the board. I think we've wrapped those items up. The completed SWIP and notice of intent has been provided for Mark's review. I believe Mark is, at least the last letter appeared to be that we're in good shape unless there's something else. With that, the program is, as discussed before, in one of the pieces we have presented in the package is what that training, I call it the training field, those fingers that are projecting out of what those pole alignments potentially can be for the training itself. And I believe as well, the architect has submitted a colored rendering of what that metal building will be, that storage building and with the bay doors and such. So, I mean, we're here to answer any additional questions and see what you like to do.
Thank you. Mr. Rossito.
Nothing.
Mr. Abbey. Mr. Snyder.
All set.
Mr. Bloss.
I'm all set.
Mr. Marizio. All set as well. Steve.
All set, thanks.
Neil. Sometimes or all the time? And that's your recommendation? And it does make sense. And it does make sense.
Can we do that as a contingency, get through the site plan, get the physical activity underway, and we would come back with lot consolidation?
Neil, can you speak into the mic, please?
Okay, administratively. The only reason I say that, and I don't think that'll be an issue at all for Mr. Pollock and the training facility, just the timing, they'd like to try to get at least the foundations poured before we get into winter. So they'd like to, get moving here in short order after approval tonight.
I suspect we won't have a problem with the condition.
No, they'll,
With us, I don't think
Yeah.
the board will have a problem with that.
thank you.
Mark? Thanks, Mark. Anything else?
Based on discussion, we don't have a problem with that condition.
Perfect. Joe, would you propose the standard seeker, please?
Yes, I propose our standard seeker, and that's a form of motion.
Second. Mr. Rossito?
Yes.
Mr. Abbey?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Bloss?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Neil, could you propose a motion for approval with the conditions as talked about?
Yes, you're going to move to adopt a resolution approving the application known as.
Somebody like to make that a motion?
Make a motion. Second.
Mr. Rossito?
Yes.
Mr. Abbey? Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Bloss?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Good luck with it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda is sketch plan review for Stuart Hancock Partners. This is property at Stuart Drive, proposed Dunn Tire Distribution Center.
Mike LaSalle with MBL Engineering, representing the applicant.
Thank you.
Right, so property that was just talked about a little earlier on Stewart Drive. A proposed distribution center for Dunn Tire. 65,000 square feet. The project itself, you can see, is on the current property. That's not on the back parcel in terms of the building itself. So we are showing the building itself meeting all the setbacks for the single parcel. Mainly if it comes to a holdup point, working with the county in terms of the zone change they're working on in that back sliver. And also the fire access road you can see goes over top of that property line. Though it is under, what I would say, under contract for both properties to be sold to this applicant, we didn't see a concern with that property line crossing at this time. The intent would be, obviously, this would be subdivided into one parcel, and also the whole thing will be rezoned. But right now we are showing the building, the parking and everything on this property, meeting the setbacks. It's just something to keep in mind, but as we move forward with the approval process, if that becomes a sticking point, we can talk about it, but I don't know if it will or not, actually. So moving on with the project, the distribution center, you can see that I believe there's 12 truck docks on the west side. Employee parking on the north side towards the road with a small office area. The typical traffic for this facility, they only see about eight full-size tractor trailers a week. The rest of it is a lot of their Sprinter and pickup trucks. They have 10 of those and they average about 4 times a day in and out. So there's about 40 trips for a Sprinter or a pickup truck. They do have 2 box trucks that are 1 box truck about 2 times a day, just like a 30-foot box truck. And then the 40 employees that are in and out. So then the other 25 are actually on site. The other ones that come in, the 15 are driving the trucks. So they drive, park their car, use the vehicles all day. They're in and out, as that says with the Sprinter cars, about 10 vehicles 4 times in and out. That gives a feel for that. The other, I guess, we did get the county review. I don't know if you want to go through this or you want me to go through any of these specific comments or.
Of the county?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go through it.
I'll just go through some of the main points for comment. And then if you want to pick out any more, we can go through that. One was obviously with Aquep in terms of the sewer flow. We're under, I believe you're under consent, I believe is the right thing, or if it's just a 1-to-1 sanitary flow offset for any sewer flows for this property. I did talk with Nick Capozzo over at the county, and our flow is around 350 to 400 gallons per day, very minor. There is a 1-to-1 offset. Mark mentioned in an email that that offset program is somewhat in the works in terms of writing it, what it truly is. But Nick didn't see any concerns with that flow, obviously, for adding to the system. And then in the coming weeks, we'll confirm what that really means for us, if it's a buy-in or if it's something else for that 400 gallons a day for the sewer system. Should be a fairly straightforward. With talk with Nick actually this morning, he felt it was a minute problem that should be overcome really quickly with the size of the flow, 350 gallons per day. Other things that came up in this, they talked about the lighting. They did mention the zone change referral. That was you guys just went through earlier. And I kind of explained, and you can ask questions here a little bit if you understand that we're trying to build everything on this site. Obviously, he wants to buy the back portion for any kind of future development. We talked about 25 employees on site, 15 in and out. So that's where that 40 parking number comes from. And we're also, we have a SWIP completed. I didn't provide it to Mark yet, but we'll provide that here this week. And if you want to jump to the grading plan, I can run through the stormwater quick, if that makes sense. Probably just right there. Yeah. So stormwater wise, fairly straightforward. Treatment on 3 sides. The Stuart Drive side and then each side of the building. We're working with, I spoke with Kate Fiorello, and this park obviously had an initial SWIP. I don't believe it's still open, but there was an initial stormwater plan for the detention that's on the perpendicular road right in front of us here. I can't remember the road name right at the moment, but there's a road that's really near the intersection, and just up in front of us, all the stormwater from our sites, everything's kind of coming from the airport at us. There's a drainage swale that takes the water around to the east and then up to the road. There's 2 open end sections on each side. Sorry, I don't have a pointer, but on the left side where you see a swale and the right side where you see a swale going towards Stuart Drive, there's 2 existing end sections there today where all the water from the site goes to, and we're maintaining those 2 points. Those 2 points go to an existing collection system to that stormwater pond. The stormwater pond was designed for quantity controls. So, and I got an email from Kate saying that we would only need to do water quality and runoff reduction on our site because the stormwater ponds were developed to the maximum allowed impervious coverage, which we are under. So we meet the quantity intent. So we'll work through that with Mark. That's how we have the SWIP set up right now. So we are meeting our RRV, our minimum RRV, and our water quality in the 3 dry swales that you're seeing on the property. Very straightforward. Only collection that we're doing is the roof drains on the loading dock side. We're pulling all the way out, then everything gets through a swale and then we're collecting at the end in open end sections and then sending to the existing catch basins along Stuart Drive. That really wraps up the stormwater. Other than that, I think it's fairly straightforward warehouse or distribution center. So let me know if you guys have any specific questions.
Thank you. What I'd like to do first is Paul Nertz from the North Syracuse Fire Department has joined us. I'd like to welcome Paul up. He's got some comments that he would like to provide. Thank you, Paul.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. The fire department's main concern is the availability of water here. I provided documents to Steve. I didn't have enough to pass out to all of you. He's going to make copies and present them. Factory Mutual has a publication about tire distribution places, and water is the most significant commodity that we're going to need to put out a tire fire. They're very difficult to fight, outlined in the documents I provided. We asked about an additional hydrant on the parking lot side there, where they're bringing an 8-inch main across to their fire service, I presume. And we're asking for that for tactical reasons. It will be one fire engine will tie into that hydrant and pump into the sprinkler system to augment the sprinkler system. And then we'll need another hydrant for the fire apparatus to move to the place where the fire might be to actually enter the building and fight the fire and have that available to them. Depending on what they determine their fire flow for the building is, we may need more hydrants. And until the engineering is done documenting the fire flow for the building, and it's significant because the sprinkler system's demand alone could be 1,500 gallons a minute based on this severe fire hazard. So it's going to be very interesting to see if the old Air Force Base water supply system is capable of providing that, or whether or not they'll have to come up with some type of on-site water retention for augmenting the fire suppression. I see you've changed the grading there. It looks like it changes about 5 feet as you go towards the end of that fire access road. Okay, so that's not very steep over at 150 foot. So that looks great. That was one of the things we asked them to change. Other than that, until there's more information, the way they stack their tires, whether they're on their ends and create a chimney or whether they're on the tread, there's all kinds of considerations for sprinkler systems, in-rack sprinkler versus ceiling sprinklers. There's a lot that's going to go into this when we find out what they exactly have in mind for their project. And we'd just like you to keep that in consideration as we move forward.
Wonderful. Paul, thank you very much.
Thank you for your
Obviously, it's
time.
very important.
Right, and just to add on to that quick, I appreciate his quick review. We did add the fire road on the bottom with the turnaround meeting the appendix of the fire code. The hydrant he's talking about, absolutely. Harlan, the architect, is working with it right now to tell me what our numbers are, so we can get out and do some fire flow testing, and then we'll be able to report back to that. The good news is they just built this very similar facility in Rochester. It's all done, so there's a lot of things we already know about it in terms of how it's stacked and everything like that we can provide to him, this week, and we'll work through that with the fire department and get him that information. So.
Terrific. Thank you. With that, we'll open up the questions. Mr. Rosito?
Is that a retention pond in the southeast corner? Is that what that is?
Southeast corner, no, that's just a low-lying collection area because there's quite a bit of water coming from the southeast right there at us. And that's collecting all that water that used to go out through a swale. So you can see there's you can just barely see the remnants of a swale that's coming down those two existing contour lines to the south. No, none of us
The roof's going to drain to the west.
So see these contours right here are
Yeah.
making a swale. There's water coming at us from this direction. So we left this open so all that water can still get into this area. And then that gets sent right back out to the same spot it used to go. Quite a bit of water. You can see this is a 36-inch pipe here. There's a lot of water movement, not so much from here. It's really coming there's a swale here that comes down that we're collecting. You can see open-ended section right here. This swale looked like it was originally designed for the rest of the park, but everybody that's upstream of this has sent their water straight forward into the storm system, is what it appears. When I was out there, it was very wet. We weren't seeing any water here. We were seeing a ton of water coming at this culvert here and then running overland here down into this swale at that point. So obviously Mark will see our stormwater design collects about 8 more acres right here that comes at us. And that's why that's open. I didn't want to try to collect in catch basins and worry about plugging. And so we left all those as open basins.
Right, so that stays there. It runs from south to the north,
Yep.
and then you're eliminating a 32-inch pipe.
No, well, it's a 32-inch squash pipe. The surveyor measure is 32. It's 32 by like 40. It's compressed a little bit. We're replacing that pipe with a 36-inch pipe. So are you calling out the
Oh, okay. I thought you just eliminate, you're replacing it.
yeah, this will be a brand new 36 where the 32 connects to this existing manhole right now. We're
Well, same thing
connecting
on
a
the other
brand new
corner. It
36.
says existing being removed, and I'm wondering, how's the water gonna get?
Yeah, that existing 32 went from that manhole out to an open-ended ditch right here. And we're closing that ditch with a pipe until this point.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Abbey?
Well, I look forward to getting information on fire protection and getting educated actually on the proposal on tires and such.
Yeah.
I was curious, you have 2 entrances on Stuart. One is 30 feet, one's 24. Different.
Yeah, this is our main truck access point here. All trucks will go in and out at this westernly one. And this could be used for employees, is what I picture. A lot of employees could come from this way and park in the front and go in there. The main door for the employee entrance is right here. But we still have the capability of taking a fire truck around this whole thing.
Okay, thank you. And I just have one other tiny comment. Look at the form. Site plan application on number 10. Give an address of immediate contiguous property owners. Hoffman Sausage, you're saying it's a hot dog company?
I don't know that answer, but that's the listed owner.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Not the way it's spelled. There's 1 F and 2 N's.
Okay. We'll double check that. Let me actually.
Mr. Snyder?
When I spell, I would never catch that, Chuck. I take it there's no public access coming to the building, just probably salespeople or something like that.
Yeah, no outside people coming in other than the 40 we talked about.
Now you have along the behind the rows of employee parking, you say you have a pea gravel strip. I take it you don't want a curb because you want the water to flow into the ditch in the front along Stuart Drive.
Yep, along here, there's actually one along this area, which is a pea gravel strip. And along here, there's another one, and that's to meet the DEC pre-treatment requirements for the dry swale. And exactly, we want to just let everything sheet flow off our pavement. And that pea gravel strip is a best management practice.
What happens after the first plow?
So we have them, we actually have them at Syracuse Utilities, and they've gone through a first plow. So they're lower than the blacktop. So the blacktop thickness is usually sticks up 2 inches above it. So they would really have to screw up, to go by it, drop their blade past it, and then push it up. But that is meant to be maintained. There's no question, because especially if you sand your lot. But that's the first level of protection to try to stop some of that sediment too. But
Wouldn't that be a problem if someone's in a hurry to go home after a long day's work and he backs up, he would go over the edge and then would have trouble driving out of the property?
I'm talking your pavement thickness. Usually you're about a 2 inch, 2 inch of drop from that pea gravel strip to where the blacktop is. And that's how Syracuse Utilities looks right now as well. Plowing is would be a concern if they're off the blacktop. But that pea gravel strip is 12 inches thick. So it's meant to go down 12 inches and back up. So if they're doing it, it's no different than hitting the grass. They're going to hit the pea gravel and they're going to push it off a little bit. And I think it's repairable.
So I guess the only thing I would want to see there is some kind of permanent staking arrangement such that they, when you're plowing and there's 2 foot of snow out there, you know where not to plow.
Yeah, I don't know if permanent's required, but yeah, obviously most of these places do put their temporary snow stakes up every year, and I'm sure this place would absolutely do that. It's just going to protect them.
As was said before, I'm concerned about the water too, because we at the highway garage paid a lot of money for a fire pump because of the flow available on 31. And we also paid more for the generator to run the fire pump.
Right.
So those flow numbers are going to be very important.
They're critical, absolutely. If we can get the water and we just need to boost it, that's one thing, because we have room for boosters in the fire pumps. If we need a tank, that's where you guys will start to see something on the plan, right? So right now, you might not see anything on the plan. It won't change, the aesthetics and the planning board section of anything in the way, anything building out there. But that's what we're waiting on. That's a critical item for us right now. If we do need some sort of outside storage tank to be able to handle the storage here. So that hopefully, in the coming week, we will have all that answers.
When you get those numbers, will you talk with Agua? So maybe, the continual concern that we have in the town, it's probably time for another tower. And this just adds more fuel to the water fire.
Yeah, to the water. There you go. Don't say tire fire.
Mr. Bloss.
My question was on the option of using an additional pump on the fire protection, since we have a little experience doing that. As Mr. Snyder just mentioned, several different things that go along with that option. I don't know, how does the fire department feel on that? We just want to make sure that in one of the options that's included is, should it be needed, can we put can they put an additional pump in there just for fire protection? And
At diesel people are available for them.
all options. Okay.
Fire pump only without a tank is something we've done before, but it depends. I mean, then we need the volume.
Yeah,
It's a
flow,
pressure
yeah.
issue. It becomes a pressure issue as long as we have the volume, and we'll know all that here very quickly.
Yeah. Okay, I'm all set.
Mr. Marizio.
I don't know that, but I will find that out. Yeah. None. No.
I saw elevations. Were they online? I don't see them.
They should be and I think he might either in the very end of this set, Mark, that you're in. I did combine it on one set. That's not it. So it's not going to be in there.
We didn't get a paper copy of the elevation.
Yeah, you did.
We did?
Yeah. Well, it was in the original package. Yeah.
Okay.
And if Mark may not have them in that 12 sheets, it was a separate. Yeah. There you go. I'm glad you brought that up. You can see on the front left, or the third elevation down, see the signage that we have. Very standard for what they've done in the Rochester building. So that's the only signage on the building. And then there is one monument sign at the street. Both meeting your.
About color renderings.
Yeah, those aren't in color because they were printed in, not in color, but yes.
They're printed.
Okay. Because again, just did the same building.
You'll be providing a landscape package?
Well, I wanted to talk about that tonight in terms of landscaping and where you might, obviously an industrial zone. I don't know what your requirements here on this particular site are. I drove around there a couple of times. There wasn't really any landscaping along the edges at all of any other sites. There was some trees obviously on our right-hand side, the east side on this site, but not so much on the left. So I wanted to talk to you guys to see what specific landscaping you might request to meet your intent of your code. Obviously, with lots of buildings here, we can obviously landscape in the front. We're not going to be able to hide the building by no means, but so I just wanted to, if you were just thinking soft landscaping on the front and the entrances just for aesthetic pleasing look, not really screening, then we can add that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't know. I mean, we don't have, there's not a policy other than
Right.
what the board's looking for and what you provide, but that's what I was looking for. Steve, do you have anything?
No, thank you.
Neil?
Well, both parcels are in contract with the main parcel, the one you're seeing, and then the part that Mr. Coyer was talking about earlier, which is it has a description to it. He's got a survey for the property that they're purchasing, and it's all in the same contract as this parcel plus part of the other parcel are both in contract with a description, legal description, and everything based off Tim Coyer's plan. Right, and that's the contract. I can provide that to you guys. Yes, probably before the close. But yeah, right now we can provide you with the contract that shows both parcels and the legal description of the entire both parcels. And that was what I was hoping to get through our first step with that. And then as the county moves through the approval of the subdivision process of combining this parcel, and not even combining, it's a kind of a lot line adjustment at that point, because we're just taking this parcel and adding some of the other to it. So. Yep.
So it wasn't just a coincidence that they were here looking for that zone change.
Yeah, I don't think it's running in parallel. Absolutely. We don't, like we talked about in the beginning, until the fire road came up, we weren't really working off of the property. So my goal was let that happen in parallel behind the scenes. Don't let this slow down because of that. But the fire road now is on the other property. Again, not, in my opinion, the zoning may not need to be changed for that fire access road. The building itself is on the proper property, mainly because they are in a hurry to get rolling. We still have, obviously, we're going to come to the next meeting, but they are going to start to get a little bit anxious to see that through. And if there was a problem with the county going through the zoning process, or if it delays it another month on us and they're trying to get out there before winter, that's where we would start to talk about, I meet all the setbacks for the current zoning on single parcel. The other parcel is just he needs to have control over it to be able to build a fire road on it. But I don't think the zoning would have an effect on that, as long as there was some sort of an agreement that he was happy with that. Yeah, right, exactly. So that hasn't been a problem yet, but we'll keep that. in
Right,
the
so
back.
technically you're not going to show the fire road at this point since you don't have control of that site.
Well, we do. So
You're showing it.
right, and we have right now the contract with the county. And I don't know the contingencies on it, but I'm assuming that the owner, the applicant, is working with the county. You can see they're both listed as applicants right now because the county still owns both of these parcels. So we're working through to get this approved or conditionally approved as potentially part of the sale, or before they continue finalizing. So, but yeah, the county owns both of them. We have a contract that shows this parcel plus part of this parcel. Tim Coyer has a boundary of the additional piece that we're stealing and doing the lot line adjustment. So it's all in one document that we'll provide. And hopefully it becomes a non-issue at all. And it just becomes one parcel before then. So.
Mark?
Yeah, no problem. That's the first submission, we did that. And then the fire road came into play. And then we took it off and then went back. So we'll add that Tim's boundary on there to show both parcels.
Thank you.
The only one more thing too,
Sure.
I wanted to talk about for the seeker. Obviously, this is it's under 10, it's unlisted. It's under 100,000, under 10 acres. It's an unlisted action, but I believe that the county, as part of the sale, still needs a coordinated review. So we listed all the agencies involved. And I didn't know how that worked, if that's something that we wanted to get rolling now for a coordinated review on the seeker process. So that was one thing I wanted to bring up tonight. Right, so so there already is is that enough? Yeah, that's the question. Is that enough? Yeah, so yeah. Well, and then I'll have to speak with the county because they've asked to make sure that they weren't doing their own seeker as part of the sale, I'm guessing, because that's where it's coming from. So that might be enough. So we'll hold that thought.
Okay.
If there's already a coordinated review occurring on the zone change, then that should take all the environmental assessment from the sale of the property and be taken care of. I would agree with that. So this should be an unlisted.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. On to the last agenda item. This is for Luigi Canada, property at 8141 Bruton Road. It's a proposed right-of-way access adjustment as outlined.
That's correct. I'm Christian from Keplinger Freeman Associates here to present. All right, so we're here to represent Granite International. They've been there 15 years doing slabs for counters, vanities, stonework, statues, etc. The business is owned currently by the father and the son. It's passing down from the father to the son, sort of in transition. And Steve and the board in general has been in contact with Luigi about cleaning up his site. The back of the site, as you can see, those little red rectangles here. I'll give you this. These right here represent just the large amounts of stone stockpiled on site. In addition to that, over here, there's an existing hoop tent where they do a lot of heavy operation work right now, which represents loud noise. It's not the cleanest of a workspace. So the proposed action is to build a new building. If you could go to the next page, that'd be helpful. This building here would match the color scheme and aesthetic of the front building. And what it would do is it would bring all the operations and a lot of the stockpiled stone that we show here inside. So all of the large pieces, large being, according to the owner, say 4 feet and larger. These are stone slabs, so exact measurements aren't exactly helpful here. But the large pieces would all go in this building, in addition to the cutting and drilling, a lot of the loud noises that the neighbors have to currently deal with going on in that hoop house, which has no walls, no sound barrier, would go in this building with a sound barrier to it, which we see as an improvement. Now, in my conversation with Steve, what I've really been stressing and our company's been working hard on is the access to the site, because currently this doesn't exist. This is a wide open curb cut on Route 11. And what we have here is box trucks that come, let me just check my notes here. The tractor trailers are bi-monthly off hours. and the box trucks come, say, once a week. The box truck, 25 foot, 30 foot, the circulation is no problem. However, the existing condition for the tractor trailer, if you go back to the first page, sorry. I have a turning movement outline that shows you how messy it is. The current movement going northbound, it's on the upper part, sorry. It's over here. So if I'm a tractor trailer driving north, thank you. You can see this sloppy turning movement goes right out into 11. And to load or do any sort of delivery movement with the tractor trailer, it's a messy movement. And because there's no curbing and no hierarchy or specified movements for the tractor trailer, it's unsafe and it's not in a good existing condition. So our focus so far has been cleaning up this turning movement before we came to you guys to say, hey, this is an improvement project. There's obviously the aesthetic bonus back here. But we wanted to get approval from the DOT that our proposed turning movement would be acceptable. So if you go back to the other page one more time. And then on that turning movement, we have a turning movement that works and it creates a hierarchy and so that the tractor trailers at the owner's request would come northbound. They'd come in here, they'd back up. This is a mountable, this C shape here, trying very carefully to do this. This C shape is a mountable curb. This face of it here, this straight line, is a true 6-inch curb for safety and hierarchy and delineation. But the C shape portion is a mountable curb. The truck comes in, it backs up, it hops on this mountable curb, and then voila, we can deliver our stone in a way that's safe for Route 11 and efficient for the owners, and corresponds with the location of the new existing building, which will hold the granite pieces from the back of the site and all new deliveries. This turning movement has been approved by Jeff Deep of the DOT. I have that letter. I've submitted it as well. It's a preliminary recommendation. Conceptual approval is the exact wording he said. And that means we just have to do a perm 33, move forward with that. So that currently is where we stand with the project. There are two major items we are sort of asking for and have to work on. The first being probably the larger issue. They're actually tied together, but we're 5 foot off this property line currently. We did that to try and make sure we can get this movement to work. We understand we need a variance. If you look at the last paper the hard copy paper, it shows sort of a overhead view of the site. You can see kind of how messy the site is currently. You can see the existing tent that's going to be replaced by the building. And you'll also see this evergreen buffer. The owner is, he's willing to work with the neighbors. He wants to be a good neighbor. He's been a good neighbor. He has a good relationship with these people. The problem for moving this building off that property line any further would be to infringe on this delivery space here, which is currently at 22. In order to achieve fire suppression inside the building, we could move this one more foot away to create another foot of safety and to eliminate the need to do a firewall in here. But we need to speak further with the fire department. We understand that's part of the process moving forward. So the variance and the fire department are the two major things moving forward. But other than that, we did not want to come to you without this being worked out. And now that it's been approved by the DOT, we feel comfortable coming forward to you for comments.
So we're looking for a site plan approval for
Yes.
the building that's being,
That's correct.
because the application said for a right-of-way access adjustment.
And a building. Which application are you talking about?
Site plan?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, no, the building's supposed to be in there.
I thought so.
Yep, there it is.
Go through with questions, Mr. Rosito?
So when the trucks back up, they're gonna back over that 6-inch curb every time.
They're gonna back over a mountable curb. That's correct.
That's been approved by the DOT.
Been approved by the DOT.
We received the letter this afternoon, I believe.
Thank you.
Mr. Abbey?
I was just curious of, being 5 feet from the setback of,
That's correct. Yeah.
also at this point.
Mr. Snyder?
So I take it he'll probably, before he goes to the ZBA, he'll have those neighbors indicate their desire.
Yeah, we spoke with the owner today, and he said he's more than happy to reach out and mention this and discuss with them.
I think that'll be critical for the ZBA to be able to make a decision on what happens.
Agreed.
So then we actually don't have any other action to do until that is approved.
Okay.
Right, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Has that application been submitted?
The ZBA? Not yet.
Anything else, sir? Mr. Bloss?
No further questions.
I have nothing else at this time. Mr. Marizio?
Storage and operations. Part of the reason we want to do the building as a sort of a good neighbor moment is the fabric tent that's currently there is loud, obnoxious, dusty in the winter. It's not ideal. So some of the operations would go in that building. However, the true shop is to the north of the site up here. There will be water. I don't think there will be heat. They'll be using it in the winter as storage. I don't think they'll be doing much operations in the winter there.
Mr. Procopio?
All that will. There were sheds here.
Yeah.
Good, thank you. Mr. Jermaine? The parish. Mark will do a review. You got to do your variance.
Yes.
We'll go from there.
Thank you.
Good to see some improvements there.
Yeah.
That concludes our agenda items. Is there any discussion from anybody? No discussion? We have a motion for to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.